Hello, YNABers. My name is Jesse Meekum, and this is podcast number 469 for YNAB, where we teach you 4 rules to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck, get out of debt, and save more money. Today, we're going to take a little bit of a detour on the socials. We said that you all could ask me any small business questions you might have. And while I've only ever run one small business, this is one guy's opinion with one product and one workforce, 100% remote. So take it for what it's worth. It's obviously not professional advice, and I use my share of professionals for said advice. But I'll do my best. So I cherry-picked today. I actually have a whole slew of questions, and so many that I could not answer them all in one episode. And I know a while back I asked everybody, should we do some kind of a separate podcast just focused on doing the money in your business? And I got more responses in the old podcast at youneedabudget.com than I've ever gotten for any other kind of call to action. So I know I need to do it. This is my first foray into that, I think. But all of this did, as far as the volume of questions that came in, all it did was just show that we need to get that rolling. So I'm going to go down this list, and I highlighted the ones in yellow that I wanted to answer that didn't have any particular theme, but they just kind of jumped out at me. Question number 1, how do you learn to switch off thinking about the business, keeping personal and business boundaries in your mental space? I do not have boundaries in my mental space for business and personal. I think about the business a whole lot. And that's that. So some of my best business ideas happen when my mind should be apparently in that personal space. You just think about it all the time. It doesn't mean that you aren't thinking about, your loved ones at times. I don't think when I'm singing happy birthday to you to one of the little kids that I'm thinking, I got to send that email. But there's no clear mental boundary, at least for this guy. You think about it all the time. In spare moments, in downtime, you just have those thoughts come back. That's just kind of the way it is. So no tricks from me on that one. Next one, how do you promote a healthy workplace in the beginning of a small business when things can often be loose, constantly changing, or requiring a lot of dedication from employees? How do you lead employees well when there's only a couple/few and you're also close with them? Are they your family? I would not hire family unless I could insert some layers of management between me and that family member. How do you stay balanced? I think if you are super clear on what your one thing is, and actually we'll have an upcoming podcast with Jeff Wood, who is the VP of a company called Productive, where they teach the one thing based on the book, The One Thing. So that's kind of fresh in my mind. But if you're really clear on the most important things, I don't think you have to work frantically. I don't think there's very often a case for frantic work. There are occasional sprints, and I'm totally a fan of those, but they are rare. Like not monthly, not quarterly, but I remember a couple years ago when things got really crazy, or I remember in 2020 when, that kind of thing. And I think if the pace is feeling frantic all of the time, you may just need to get super clear on what you should be doing. That is the absolutely most important thing. And let that kind of clarify. It's really a lot of the time about saying no to a million things, so that you know what you're really, saying yes to. So, I hope that helped. Not sure it did, but you might like the book, The One Thing. Just a little plug there. Tips on how to track income and spending on my business. It's too small for its own budget. Is it? Because you just create a new budget, right? In YNAB, free. Same account or whatever. If it really is too small, create a category group for it and track it in there, and just record inflows to your income category and outflows to your outflow category, and boom, you'll have a little P&L that's like this big. If you aren't watching on YouTube, I'm holding up my index finger and my thumb, and they're very close together. So just use one category group called Tiny Little Business that's about to get big, and inflows, outflows, P&L. There you go. Tips on, just did that one. Took over my dad's landscaping business. Cool. Need to raise prices on the services and don't know how. That deserves a whole episode, probably, but communicate to a few customers that you're raising your prices and see how it goes. and then iterate on that communication as you let the other customers know. It is totally okay for you to do that and test your messaging and test your pricing to make sure that it actually lands. You don't want to overshoot, and you certainly don't want to undershoot. So as entrepreneurs, you tend to undervalue what you're providing, and people will very likely pay you more than you think they would. And you want to find that sweet spot where they're paying you for the value they're receiving, and you're receiving the value that you're giving. And the practitioner tends to undervalue because they're like, hey, this isn't that hard. I can do this with my eyes closed. So communicate to a few customers, test your messaging, learn from that, iterate a little bit, communicate to another block of customers with the intention to obviously communicate to all the customers eventually. But you'll get your messaging dialed in, you'll get the price dialed in, and it should work out just fine. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Pull the trigger. Just rip the Band-Aid off. You very likely need to happen. Your dad probably let the same price sit for so long because he's awesome, but inflation, cost of living, cost of labor, all that stuff, you got to make sure that you're getting a wage that makes all of your effort worth it. How do you decide when/if to hire an accountant? Hire one sooner than you would think. One time I had an experience where I hired my first good accountant. I had one other before that, fired him. But the first one that I hired, now this is coming from a guy that had a couple master's classes in taxation. He calls me one evening and he's like, Jesse, if we move around an expense from like one piece of paper to another, as far as your tax forms go, you'll save $22,000. And I was like, what? So we did that. And now you can say that I'm a believer in having someone hyper-focused, hyper-knowledgeable about your taxes. Get somebody that is not a gunslinger. Get someone that's conservative, that's straight-laced, that does it all on the up and up. Don't get the guy that's like, oh, I can tell you how to hide everything. Don't do that. Get someone that's a straight shooter. But there are strategies that you are probably not aware of that you can use, and it doesn't hurt to get a consult. Next question, related, how do you find a good tax person? You probably would want to use my guy. He's phenomenal. I don't think he's taking new clients. Interview them, and don't just take your uncle, right? Or that guy your uncle knows. Interview them like they're going to be hired for a job, because they are. And the person you feel good about, that's the one you go with. But interview half a dozen at least. Do your due diligence like you would be hiring a realtor or something like that. And really make sure that you're getting it. Get some references from them. Do some due diligence, because they can save you a ton of money or they can cost you a ton of money. And I'm not talking about the fees that you're going to pay them. I'm talking about missing out on tax savings. What kind of capital should I look to have in reserve before I make my small business my full-time gig? I don't know. When I struck out on my own, I'm spitballing here. My guess is I had probably 10 months of living expenses. And lest you think that was a massive pile of money, it's just that our living expenses were so unbelievably low. So we were living super frugal, and I knew I could have probably run for a year, honestly, without bringing in any income. The nice thing was I had built YNAB so that it was bringing in income, and pretty good bit, enough to be fairly stable. So I knew I was stepping into something that was making a little bit of money already. Although I didn't take a salary from YNAB for 5 years. So there's also that. If your business is just you, should you make it an LLC or not, and why? First, if you're making money, then maybe think about doing an LLC. But if it's just a little bit, here and there, you're kind of dabbling, don't worry about doing that. Also, an LLC is super easy, at least in the state of Utah. So it's just not that crazy. I mean, you set up an EIN with the IRS, that takes like 2 minutes, and then you use that new federal EIN with your state, and it costs you like $15. So it's really, really not that hard. Now you can walk in with your articles of organization to a bank and get your bank account. So the barrier to entry to an LLC is very, very low. But if you're also making no money, don't even worry about it. Just focus on landing some big whale of a customer, make some money. At what point / revenue did you organize YNAB into an LLC versus just a side hustle? It was about 5 years. I think it could have been 4. Pretty sure it was 5 though. And for all the reasons I just stated before, I probably did it like 3 years later than I should have. But eventually, you're kind of thinking, hey, this is important, and you do it. So there's some advantages to it. Liability protection is obviously the biggest one, but you can still be sued for, as the owner. So it's not like an end-all, be-all. There are some other nice things, but we can get into that another time. So that is it. I just did a few. I don't even know if was that too long of a podcast? Are you all used to just like the 3-minute shot from the hip? This is a little different, but maybe I'll work through these. Maybe we got to get going on that podcast. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment below and let me know. If you are, a podcast listener, shoot me another email, podcast@youneedabudget.com, and let me know that you'd like me to get going on some business topics. I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun to talk money and business, because I know, my word, if you would take what you've learned personally with YNAB and apply it to your business where the flows are a little bigger, we could do some real damage. It could be pretty awesome. So thanks for hanging along for the ride today. And I'm just happy you guys are listening. Till next time, follow YNAB's 4 rules and you will win financially. You've never budgeted like this.